is waiting.
We're almost there, and we're live.
And we're live!
In 2022.
Yay! In
We made it.
2022. We are here.
So different. Such a different world out here now. Very
Oh, yeah. Life is so altered and different, and I feel like a new person. Kind of. Sort of. So you normally have a question for me when we do these live streams. Do you have some random question for me? Hello, Lucas.
Hello, Lucas. Actually, I haven't got one.
No.
Okay, here, I got one for you. What do you think that the Major League Quidditch should name their new sport? Because that's a thing where they're changing the name of Quidditch.
I think they should just call it Quidditch and stop their BS and leave it alone. Hello, Joey. Happy New Year.
Hello, Joey. How about 3 Hoop Shakur?
I think Quidditch is better. Flying football.
Which ball?
Flying football. I don't know. Either way, I think the idea is dumb.
I'll hold reservation until I hear what they call it.
Well, I think it's dumb that they feel the urge to change the name in the first place. How about that, for an opinion?
I wonder what Harry would say. For a new Quidditch name.
I think Harry would be annoyed. Personally. Oh, wow, Dan. Hello, and thank you very, very much.
Dan, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Holy moly.
Happy New Year and welcome.
Haley.
Also, I hope everyone had a great Christmas.
Or whatever you celebrate, if you celebrate.
We haven't been on in a while, so we got a lot of catching up to do.
He's getting the cats.
There. Good boy.
He's we had a pretty good holiday. It was just very hectic.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. A lot going on.
It's crazy.
I've been on vacation though. That's been nice. I really don't want it to end.
No more skirting around it. What's your new Quidditch name?
Wait, hang on. Oh, Joey Rue. Okay. That's awesome. He's gonna start doing makeup full time.
That's awesome.
Dan got
so great.
These are cool things. That's awesome. Congratulations on the makeup job though. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Good for you. Tenor sax. That's very cool too. That's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like everybody had a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Great Christmases all around. Enjoy. We're just starting out 2022 great.
I know, right? Good start to the new year for sure.
Are you going to be working on like movie sets or with like a modeling agency or?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Or TV shows? That's the only place I can really think of that people do the makeup.
Well, I know that some people do makeup for wealthy people.
That's true too, yeah.
Personally, they're like freelance makeup artists, and they do like wealthy individuals, but then they also contract for shows and stuff, gig work too.
Yeah. Well, you think Kim Kardashian has done any of her own makeup?
No. She doesn't even dress herself, I'm sure. She has a stylist who dresses her for herself. Silverfish was in the impossible to open package containing REI gift card. Cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
I finally got Hyperion.
I got his Dark Materials set.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We
got a lot of books this year.
We did get a lot of books. We also got The World of Ice and Fire.
Yes.
It was exciting.
We actually got 2 copies.
Ooh, selling product and taking clients. That's cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Do you get commission on what you sell? Because that's even cooler. I would assume you would get commission on what you sell. Makeup artists are fun to meet some of those.
Oh, that would have been so fun. Makeup artists on like Star Trek.
Yeah, can you do alien makeup and stuff? Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I feel like that's a niche thing, you know, where you just want to do like weird makeups and experiments.
Oh, definitely. And like prosthetics and weird, you get to be super creative when you do that kind of stuff. That'd be cool. Salary, tips, and commission. Nice. Whoa. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
good great. For you. Good for you. That's fantastic. Well, every time I see you on Instagram, you always do such a nice job on your makeup, and I'm very jealous. So, if anyone deserves it, it's definitely you. Oh, my goodness.
Maybe you can get some tips. I mean, I think you do your makeup good.
Well, thank you. But, like, Joey does, like, all the things.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't know anything about makeup. Like, I know when people have too much, and that's about it.
He can do, like, the contouring and all that stuff. Like, I can't do any of that.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I could learn how to do it. I've just never learned how to do it.
Gotcha.
Speaking of makeup, the makeup on Cate Blanchett in Don't Look Up.
Oh,
holy crap. It took me like 10 minutes to realize it was her.
I know.
She was like Laura Ingraham all the way up. She was like Fox News-ified to the max.
Oh, that was a great movie.
It was such a great... I just really loved the makeup job on her because it was literally just like normal makeup, but they did it so well that it took me 10 minutes to figure out who she was. That was a wild movie. I loved that movie.
It was so funny.
It was so funny. Oh my god, that movie was great.
It has such mixed reviews now, but I'm on the side that it was a good movie. I liked it.
I think that's just haters. I'm in this movie and I don't like it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I thought it was great. The whole thing with the girl with the snacks was great.
Yeah,
she was awesome in that movie.
And
Jennifer Lawrence.
She was.
Why would he charge us for the snacks? Just like over and over, she just couldn't get past it.
Lupin could tell you it's business.
Gotta hustle.
That money.
Gotta hustle.
Getting that cash flow. And not afraid to protect it from Snip. As we were talking about last time, he punched him in the face on the train.
Yeah, punched him in the face on the train. Acting all broody and stuff. Peter and James looking at him like, who the F are you now, dude?
But Sirius thought he looked cool with a cigarette.
Yeah, Sirius thought his boots and jeans and stuff. He looks cool. Yeah. And we got our first, information dump about you-know-who. Voldemort. There's a war going on. Good. Know these things. I live with the muggles in the summer. Muggle board. I live with the muggles in the summertime. I don't know what's happening in life.
You act like we all get the Quibbler. Hey, Katie.
Hi, Katie. Welcome. Yeah, I know.
And Happy New Year.
The snacks were great. Katie, she's in witness protection and still talking about the snacks. Yeah.
I know. It was so great. I loved how it recurred through the whole movie.
She's sitting in the office where she's just like, just still don't get it.
Well, there was this scene.
Why would he make us pay for the snacks?
There's a scene where she's laying with Timothy Charlemagne. And she brings it up.
You did not. You butchered his name.
I'm sorry.
It's
not even Timothy. He just says it's Timothy because people can't pronounce his real name. remember I saw.
Chalamet. Is that I think is what it is. Yeah, that was great. Katie, if you haven't watched Don't Look Up, oh my God, watch it. You'll love it. It's great. It's great. Jonah Hill too was so funny.
Oh yeah, Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill was so
after credits scene.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but if you watch it,
yeah,
stick around
so
for the credits.
So good. But yeah, that was pretty much our recap. It's 4th year at Hogwarts, and the war is happening. Voldemort is gathering followers. Snape got punched in the face. Lupin looks like a badass. Okay, no spoilers for Katie then, because Katie's gonna watch it. Let me know when you watch it. It's pretty funny.
You'll know when you see it. The snacks. It's great.
The snacks. Yep. Should I just start?
Yeah, if you'd like.
I think the ice maker is on in that refrigerator, and we really need to shut it off. I think that's what that noise is.
Probably. I'll fix it after this.
Let's just dive in. Let's see what's happening. Chapter 58. 4th year. Competition. Remus's bad start to the year did not improve when the train drew into the station. They arrived in Hogsmeade with only 20 minutes or so until sunset, and Remus found Madame Pomfrey waiting for him, looking anxious. "Good luck, Moony," Sirius said under his breath as they parted ways amidst the throng of excited black-robed students. Remus nodded grimly, and Sirius gave his shoulder a nudge with his own, a show of adolescent solidarity. Remus only had time to glance wistfully back as the 3 Marauders climbed into one of the horseless carriages, one blonde-haired, 2 dark, before Madame Pomfrey seized Remus by the elbow and, without warning, apparated to the shrieking shack. There was a blue and white plate sitting on the dusty mantelpiece with a thick chicken sandwich on top. "In case you're peckish," the nurse explained, "you've still a bit of time." He was starving hungry, but couldn't bring himself to eat it. Instead, he just sat down on his cot and waited to be locked in, wishing there was at least a bit of light in the dingy room. Remus thought about the feast, arguably his favourite part of the first night, other than sleeping in his big, comfortable bed. Neither would be happening tonight. He could smell a rabbit outside, snuffing the grass, and his stomach gave a fierce growl. He looked at the sandwich again and considered it, but as pain shot through his shoulder blades, he realized he'd waited too long. The wolf was on its way.
You know, they lock him into the Shrieking Shack. It's just a house, like, boarded up windows. Is there a spell on it, too? I feel like when he turns into a werewolf, he could probably break through some boarded windows, even if by accident, throwing himself around, scratching.
I have a feeling they've probably got some protective magic. Dumbledore wouldn't just call it good like that.
Yeah.
It's a huge liability. I feel like Dumbledore would have probably put some protective spells on it, just in case.
You would think. They never mention it. I was thinking about it.
There's no need to mention it, I don't think. And I don't think it's something Dumbledore would necessarily tell anyone. Yeah. Dumbledore does not tell people things unless he absolutely has to.
That's true.
And there's no reason for Remus to really know.
Yeah. Okay, touche. So we'll just assume that there's a protection charm on the house to prevent Lupin from escaping.
Maybe some silver in the walls? Ooh.
Oh, hello.
We wouldn't know.
Yeah. The author did a great job. Who was the author of this?
Miss Bean King, where the hell is her name?
Well, we'll find it out.
Miss Bean King 80. Miss King Bean 89.
Oh, okay.
That's the author.
Miss Bean King.
Monday, 2nd of September, 1974. One might assume that a hungry werewolf would quite fancy a chicken sandwich, but apparently only raw meat would do, and Remus woke to find that the little meal remained intact, while his arms and legs were ripped to shreds. He sighed heavily, hauling himself to his feet and went to sit on the bunk again. His hip had gone funny for the third time, and his limp was exaggerated as he staggered across the room. His right shoulder felt dislocated. Thank God. His left shoulder felt dislocated. Thank God it wasn't his right, because he had a lot of homework to catch up on. Closing his eyes, Remus slouched back against the wall to wait for Madame Pomfrey. It was dawn, and the Marauders probably wouldn't be up for a few more hours, unless James decided he needed to squeeze some flying in before lessons. Remus knew that it was Harpeet Singh's final year at Hogwarts, which meant that the position of Quidditch captain would be open next year, and James was not messing about. "How's your sandwich?" Remus rasped, finding his wand under the bed. The entire plate came flying toward him at such a speed that it hit the wall and shattered only inches away from his head. Groaning, Remus brushed away the shards of porcelain and began to pick hungrily at the stale bread. Madame Pomfrey soon arrived and set to work patching him up before accompanying him back to the castle. He insisted on walking, rather than having her conjure a stretcher. "I'm really not that bad," he cajoled. "You've done a great job on my shoulder. I reckon I'm fine to go to lessons." "I don't like the look of that limp," she replied. "Hospital wing first. We'll see how you are at lunchtime." "But it's my first day." He knew he was whinging, but he had to try. "I'm sorry, Remus. Anyway, look at you. You're dead on your feet. A few hours sleep and you'll feel much better." Much to Madame Pomfrey's dismay, James, Peter and Sirius were waiting outside the hospital doors for Remus, meaning that sleep would have to be put off a little bit longer. "How'd James get you two up this early?" Remus grinned at them. "It wasn't easy," James grinned back, Sirius stifling a yawn behind him. "I had to resort to threats of violence." "And actual violence," Peter said, rubbing his arm, which looked very red. "You okay, Moony?" Sirius asked, blinking a lot as if to look more alert. "Fine, cheers," Remus nodded as Pomfrey ushered him into the room. The Marauders waited patiently while Remus undressed behind a screen and climbed into his usual bed at the far end of the ward. 5 minutes, Pomfrey snapped, carrying over a sleeping draught. "He needs his rest, boys." We can't stay longer anyway," James said. "Lessons and everything. We brought you your new timetable, Moony." He handed over the sheet. Remus studied it carefully. Ferox's lessons were at the end of the week, so at least he wasn't missing those. But he had McGonagall and runes and history today. "Could you—" he started. "We'll get your homework, Moony, don't worry," Sirius said, amused. "Nice to see you back to normal." "Yeah." Remus raised an eyebrow, stretched out a bare arm to display his fresh claw marks. Can't get much more normal than me." He did feel much better once he'd slept the morning away. The anger which had torn him up for the last few months was still very present, but in some small way it had shifted, and he was able to think about other things. At Hogwarts he felt better equipped to control his temper. He felt grounded and somewhat saner. As much as he didn't like to admit it to himself, Remus was beginning to feel more at home in the wizarding world than the Muggle one. In addition, he felt surprisingly positive about having given Sirius the newspaper clippings. They had been burning a hole in his pocket all summer, and he was glad to be rid of them, to let someone else in on the secret. Pomfrey allowed him to leave for dinner, and he tried to slip into the Great Hall without too much fuss. This plan was scuppered, however, as he was rugby tackled by 3 very excitable girls. "Remus!" they all shrieked, capturing him in a tight hug. "Hi!" he gasped, trying not to wince as Marlene squeezed his freshly mended ribs. "We didn't see you on the train," Mary said. "You weren't in runes," Lily added. "You have a good summer?" Marlene asked, her voice slightly muffled under Mary's arm. "Yeah, great, thanks." Remus straightened his clothes as they finally released him, standing back and grinning at him. "I wasn't feeling well, but I'm okay now. How are your summers?" "Great!" Mary pulled him toward the Gryffindor table where the Marauders were watching on with a mix of amusement and envy. He shrugged at them helplessly as he was manhandled into the seat. "Wait till you hear what me and Darren did. Not at dinner." Lily said, sounding exasperated. Remus doesn't want to hear about what you got up to with your boyfriend. Remus's eyes widened. He certainly did not want to hear, and he flashed a grateful look at Lily, who smiled back. The girls all looked a bit different. Remus was so tall now that he barely noticed other people growing, but Mary, Marlene, and Lily definitely had. They looked less like the kids he remembered from first year, and now reminded him of the girls that Stee and his gang whistled at when they were out in town. Mary particularly had developed noticeable curves at some point, and Remus couldn't ignore the fact that half the boys on the Gryffindor table were staring at the way her white school shirt pulled across her chest. "Oi, ladies!" Sirius called from further up the table. "Can we have Moony back, please?" "No," Mary replied, sticking out a pink tongue. She turned back to Remus. "I really like your hair. Avni says she saw you on the train and you were dressed like a skinhead. You haven't actually joined a gang now, have you?" Remus shrugged. Fortunately, the food appeared at that moment, providing a decent enough distraction. Unfortunately, girls were not like boys when it came to eating. While the Marauders simply would have tucked in, heads down, until they finished, Lily and Marlene picked at their food slowly, chatting about school and who was going out with who, and their new favourite actors. "Marlene fancies a Slytherin," Mary said slyly. "I do not." Marlene turned bright red. "You do so. I saw you watching him in potions." "Are we doing potions with Slytherin again, then?" Remus asked, his stomach sinking. "Yep," Lily said brightly. "I think it's better, don't you? Slughorn always gives much more detail when his own house is in the classroom." "Oh, yeah, I forgot." Mary cocked an eyebrow. "Lily has had a crush on a Slytherin for years." "Severus is my friend," Lily replied witheringly. "You're boy mad, you." "I can't help if I'm more experienced than you lot." Mary raised her chin in a very dignified, mature sort of way. Marlene covered her ears dramatically. "If you're going to start talking about Darren doing that thing again, I'm leaving." "Fine, fine," Mary said. "I'll shut up." She didn't, though. She and Marlene ended up in a very intense debate over who was more attractive, David Essex or Donny Osmond. Remus took the opportunity to whisper to Lily. "You've seen Severus today, then?" "Yeah, why?" Did he say anything about seeing me on the train?" "No," Lily said, surprised. "Why? What happened?" "Nothing," Remus said quickly. "Just usual, him being a prat."
How does I look? Just out of curiosity.
Lily replied, looking down at her food and playing with her fork. She seemed uncharacteristically nervous. "He can be a bit of a prat, I suppose." She looked up again at Remus and lowered her voice even further so that he had to lean closer to hear her at all over the din of the dining hall. "It was just a theory lesson today, Potions," she whispered. "We didn't have to partner up, so if you wanted to work together again this year." "Oh, you don't want to do it with Snape?" Lily looked very pink indeed and shook her head. "No, I think... Well, you're a lot less bossy, and we study so much together anyway. I just thought..." "Yeah, sounds good to me." Remus shrugged, returning to his food. He really was starving hungry. That pleased him too. James and Sirius always paired up, so did Marlene and Mary. There was Peter, of course, but he had lots of friends in Slytherin and tended to make mistakes when he was anxious, which annoyed Remus, who is a perfectionist. Lily was a nice, sensible sort of girl with a sense of humour, and she could always explain things to him so that they sounded easy. Plus, it would drive James bonkers. The Snape incident still bothered him slightly. He'd half expected McGonagall to be waiting to pounce as soon as he'd been discharged from the hospital wing. Severus almost always went running to a teacher, if he could get away with it, and Remus had been absolutely 100% in the wrong this time. He knew that much. Snape hadn't so much laid a hand on him. Remus had just humiliated him because he felt like it. And Snape didn't like being humiliated. Remus didn't know much about the troubled Slytherin boy other than the bits and pieces Lily confided, but he did know that Severus Snape could hold a grudge like no one else. He would have his revenge, and if it wasn't by getting Remus into trouble with the teachers, then it was going to be something far more unpleasant. So what were the girls talking about? James asked once they were all in their dorm room for the evening. He was trying to sound casual, but Remus saw through it. Oh, nothing interesting, he replied, unpacking his trunk. Boys, mostly, and snogging. Snogging? Sirius sat up on his bed. Yeah, I know. Remus scrunched his face up to show his distaste for the topic. It's all they're interested in these days. Mary and her muggle boyfriend did something over the summer. What did they do? Sirius looked very interested now. Not disgusted at all, Remus realized. He faltered. I don't really know. Lily wouldn't let her talk about it while we were eating. Ah, James nodded proudly. Too clever for all that nonsense, Lily. How do you know it's nonsense? Sirius asked. It's not like you do any snogging. Oh, and you do? James frowned. Could if I wanted, Sirius said, lying down again, arms behind his head.
He's not lying there.
No, not at all. Plenty of girls fancy me. If you wanted, James smirked. So, what, you've got girls lining up for a cheeky snog and you're just not interested? An almost imperceptible look of panic crossed Sirius's face, only for the most fleeting of moments before it returned to its usual impish cheek. Jealous, are you, Potter? Ugh, of you? James teased back. Bet Lily fancies me, Sirius said. Take that back! James roared, launching himself at his friend, wrestling him into a headlock. Peter sighed heavily and looked at Remus. They were like this all summer, he sighed to Remus. Everything's a competition. Some hours later, Remus was just drifting off to sleep when his ears pricked and he heard those familiar footsteps crossing the room. Shortly, his bed curtain twisted aside and Sirius whispered, Moony, you awake? Yeah. Sirius crawled inside. Remus sat up nervously. Sirius had only ever paid him a visit once before. Usually he went to James if he wanted to talk about... Well, Remus didn't know what they talked about, but he assumed black family drama. The only time Sirius had sought out Remus was early in their second year, just after the Marauders had discovered he was a werewolf. Remus thought back to that night occasionally, and the memory was tucked away in a safe, calm part of his mind. He remembered lifting his shirt so that Sirius could inspect his scars, long dark hair brushing his skin. Muffliato, Sirius whispered, casting the silencing spell. Oh, dear. Lola, that was violent. Is she okay? Oh, yeah. There, I got it.
Yeah,
little sheath from her, yeah. What's up? Remus asked, rubbing his eyes as Sirius lit his wand. The articles, Sirius said, pulling the clippings from his pajama pocket. I read them. Oh. Remus felt a trickle of shame run down his spine. Right. I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, Sirius said quickly, but I wanted you to know I've read them, I suppose. Okay, thanks, Remus nodded. And I understand why you're angry. Anyone would be, Sirius said fervently, his eyes huge in the darkness, twin blue flames. It's just such a shitty hand to be dealt, Moony. Remus didn't know what to say to that. He could hardly disagree. I won't tell James or Pete, Sirius said. Not unless you want me to. No, please don't, Remus said. I'm not ashamed. It's just private, you know? Sirius nodded, pursing his lips. It's safe with me. Remus, still feeling a bit shaky, gave a weak smile. God, you're so dramatic. Sirius laughed too. James's mum says I wear my heart on my sleeve. He nudged Remus with his toe. We can't all be master secret keepers like you, Moony. I thought I wasn't me without secrets. Yeah, but if you have to have them, I'd rather I knew. Remus snorted. 'Cause you're so special, Black. 'Cause if I don't know, I'll just figure it out anyway, like you and your little cigarette-selling enterprise. Remus's mouth dropped open. You looked in my trunk, you wanker! How dare you? Sirius replied haughtily. I would never stoop so low. One of the 6-year lads came round asking for you, see if you were still selling this year. Remus groaned, slapping his forehead. Was it Dirk Cresswell? Bloody moron. How much did you make? Enough. Please don't tell James. You know what he's like about stealing. You stole them? Bollocks. Remus groaned again at his own stupidity. I don't know how you do it, Moony, Sirius said, awed. But you surprise me every time.
Wow, way to just reveal everything, Remus. My God. Sirius is pretty good at that, though.
Sirius is very good at that. Sirius is very good at that.
And he also has every opportunity to snog any girl he wants, but he doesn't.
No. He does not.
And Remus doesn't seem to understand it. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge. Know what I mean, know what I mean.
And Lily seems like she's getting a little close to Remus. Be partners.
Yeah. Love the little Dirk Cresswell nod. Kind of sad to know that he's going to die in book 7.
And yeah, there could have been some silver in the wall. Going back to the Shrieking Shack, silver in the walls.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess that's the competition. The girl competition.
Oh, it says that it was better to not have silver. So I don't know.
It's got to be protective enchantments.
Yeah, it must be.
It's got to be protective enchantments. What else would it be?
Yeah, I guess so. Something to keep him in, like the protection on the outside keeps the muggles out of Hogwarts.
Yeah, keeps the muggles from... Well, Hogsmeade is an entirely wizarding community.
Yeah.
So it keeps the wizards from popping in and out. And the whole
that too.
Hauntedness of it, adds to it. You know what I mean, Doda?
Yeah, you don't need magic when you have folklore.
Haunted house. Within a community that understands that
legends.
Ghosts are real.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They know ghosts are real and they hang out with them at Hogwarts, so why is it scary?
What if it's like Peeves times 100? Like a pissed off evil Peeves.
Peeves is, yeah, I guess.
I mean, there are malevolent ghosts.
He's just...
I mean, I meant like an evil Peeves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Peeves is just...
Insane.
But what if it was like an evil ghosty? Or multiple evil ghosties, You don't know.
But back on the rest of the story, it seems like there's just a lot of hormones running around this year.
Yeah. And people are filling out.
Mm-hmm. And James seems to be the only one who notices.
Yeah, right? Right? Mary and her boyfriend did something over the summer. Lily does not want to work with Snape.
Nope. Poor Snape.
Yeah. I wonder what happened.
Remus happened. Just a better catch. Maybe that's why Remus was so nice to Harry, because Remus was almost Harry's father.
Oh man, how are him and James gonna figure that out?
Well,
I guess
we know of the story. I'm sure it's going to end up with Remus being like, "Wrong team, man. You're all good."
I'm not.
I may take your best friend though. Just saying.
Oh man, they're definitely stepping up a notch with the whole chemistry between Sirius and Lupin too. It's gonna amp up this year.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I think this is the beginning of the end of Snape and Lily's friendship too. I think we're gonna start seeing that start to have issues and cracks and problems.
Well, they mentioned in the last chapter Voldemort.
That's what I mean.
So we know he's starting to gain traction, and Snape's gonna start falling
into that group of individuals. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think we're gonna start seeing that.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yep, we're gonna see that start falling apart. So sad.
The beginning leading up to the Mudblood comments.
Yep. The thing that ruined his life. The one thing.
Oh, let's see where this goes now.
Shall we do the next chapter?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna get to go to potions. See how Snape reacts when Lily says, "Yeah, I'm not your partner."
Yeah, what's gonna happen? Because Snape didn't tell anybody what happened.
That's true. So he's gonna get him back.
Is he gonna do some things?
Maybe he's gonna run to Voldemort and tell him he's a werewolf.
I don't think he's got it in with Voldemort like that yet.
Daddy Voldy, he's a werewolf. Kill him.
Frisky. Getting feisty over here. Doda, why are you so feisty, Doda? Alright, Doda, you ready to listen to the story? I think she's ready.
Alright.
Bailey, are you ready?
What's this next chapter called?
September.
Okay.
Chapter 59. 4th year. September. Remus never did find out exactly what it was Mary had done or had done to her over the summer holidays. Whatever it was, though, it had given her a certain amount of status amongst the other girls in her year group, which was hard to ignore. On Thursday, their first lesson of the new term with Professor Ferox, Remus arrived in the classroom to find a cluster of girls whispering near his desk. He elbowed his way through, grumpily, reclaiming his workspace next to Mary. The girls tittered and resumed whispering. Mary, of course, was at the centre of the group, holding court, and by the looks of it, having a thoroughly marvellous time. Marlene was sitting by and watching with a look of envy and respect. "Did it hurt? And it didn't hurt?" a Ravenclaw girl asked in a hushed tone. "No, it's fine if you relax," Mary replied with a bravado that reminded Remus of James. "And you think you're going to, with Darren?" another girl asked, her voice practically trembling with excitement. "Well, Mary started, but at that moment Professor Ferox emerged from his office, announcing his presence with a cheerful salutation. "Welcome back, class! Seats, please!" The girls all hurried into class, some looking very red-faced and others unable to stop giggling. Remus frowned, trying to ignore them, and sat facing the front, straight back. Ferox gave him a friendly smile and nod, and Remus nodded back, smiling uncontrollably. Ferox had
clearly been working out.
Kids
Clearly taking care of himself over the summer.
Ferox had clearly had a fantastic summer. His fair hair was a shade brighter, no doubt bleached by the sun. It was longer, and he now wore it twisted back in a long knotted tail. His face was even more weather-beaten, and his nose rather red and peeling slightly from sunburn. He rolled up his sleeves, as usual, revealing sun-browned arms and the odd burn mark.
Oh, yes, it's confirmed. Ferox can make them all relax. Well, Lupin, at least.
Yes. Oh. "Good summer?" he asked the class, who all nodded and murmured in the affirmative. He grinned and clapped his hands together. "Excellent! I hope you all had a nice rest and you're ready to begin work on quadruple X-rated creatures for this term. First, let's do a quick recap of last term's work, then see who's done their summer reading." Remus himself had only just finished the reading that morning. He hadn't even started on the extra texts Ferox had lent him. He sorely regretted wasting the whole summer being reckless now, and had already had to plead with Professor McGonagall to let him have an extra week on his Transfiguration notes. He suspected that she only relented after a conversation with Madame Pomfrey, which made him feel guiltier still, as he knew he was capable of beating most of the class even after his worst transformations. "You're being too tough on yourself," Sirius told him as they were chased out of the common room the night before by prefects telling them to go to bed. "It's the beginning of the year. If you're going to fuck up, you may as well fuck up now." Remus had just glared at him. "Easy for you to say. Some of us actually have to work for our grades. Plus, it's OWLs next year. I can't drop my standards now." "Oh, please don't mention OWLs," James said, coming between them quickly in a less than subtle attempt to prevent an argument. "McGonagall and Flitwick have already put the fear into me. And why did we decide to do divination?" "I quite like divination," Peter said thoughtfully, dumping his pile of books. "Prophecies and all that. It's exciting."
Of course he would like it.
"Yeah. It's nonsense." Sirius gave the smallest marauder a withering look. "You only like it because you're good at astronomy." "It's not like that," James said slyly, changing into his pajamas. "Notice that Pete's got a new partner this year?" "Oh, yes," Sirius smirked. "The divine Desdemona Lewis of Ravenclaw." Remus glanced up at Peter in a surprise and watched him turn a shocking shade of scarlet from his blue pajama collar to the roots of his yellow hair. "Shut up," he mumbled, climbing into bed. "She's just a friend." "James," Sirius said in a very solemn voice, "what on earth are we going to do if Petey boy here gets a proper snog before the rest of us?" "Well, your reputation will be in tatters, for one thing," James replied in the same serious manner. "What do I have if not my reputation?" Sirius grinned back, getting into bed himself. Remus huffed with disapproval and pulled hard on his bed curtains, returning to his book and hoping they all got the message. If they did, it didn't matter. "Of course, if I got a snog before you, that wouldn't hurt," James said. "I'm on the Quidditch team." "You don't have my animal magnetism," Sirius replied. There was a loud thump and an oi, and Remus assumed that James's pillow had crossed the room and made contact with Sirius's head. "I bet you," James started. "Oh, no," Peter groaned. "Please don't." "I bet you 10 galleons that I can get a girl to snog me within a month." "10?" Peter gasped. "Done," Sirius called back. "Just you wait, Potter." Remus, who lost all ability to concentrate on his book, huffed loudly again and decided to sleep. Pathetic. It wasn't just the girls anymore. Now even the Marauders were obsessed with snogging. It probably would be Sirius who won the bet, though James had a fair point about the Quidditch team. He felt very sorry for Peter, who had gone very quiet. Remus tried not to think about the fact that none of his friends had made any comment on his likeliness to get a snog. He must rank even lower than he thought. Remus was troubled by this all week, right up to his Care of Magical Creatures lesson, which he now found himself daydreaming through. As Ferox's lecture drew to a close, Remus realized he'd made no notes at all. He looked down, panicked, and saw a neatly folded piece of parchment. Who put it there? He glanced around furtively, then opened it. "Please tell Sirius I think he's gorgeous. Effie Scunthorpe, X."
Effie Scunthorpe? Who's that?
I don't know. Yeah, hello, Ron Weasley. Animal magnetism. I loved that bit. We are reading a Harry Potter fan fiction called All the Young Dudes, and it is about the Marauders.
And it's very well written fan fiction at that.
Lola, behave yourself, please, okay?
The boys are just entering that confusing age of puberty.
Heat flared up in his neck as Remus screwed the note up into a ball and shoved it in his pocket. That settled it. Everyone had lost their minds.
You'd think with the part werewolf, Remus would be like the most
like in heat.
Yeah. Even if it was for Sirius or Ferox. Well, I mean, I guess he kind of does.
He definitely noticed
those feelings when Ferox.
He smiles uncontrollably, and he definitely noticed how good of a summer he had.
Yeah. Oh, the summer treated you well.
As well as contending with the raging hormones, which now seemed to infect every one of Remus's social circles, there was another noticeable change in the atmosphere at Hogwarts. Even if James had not explained to him that the wizarding world was at war, Remus thought he would have worked it out for himself this... Hey! Lola, no! Remus is sabotaging the bet.
Like he needs any help. He already has all the girls all the time.
It's true.
He just shoots them all down.
Yeah, he ignores all signals whatsoever.
Exactly.
Even if James had not explained to him that the wizarding world was at war, Remus thought he would have worked it out for himself this year. Slytherins, who had always considered themselves a cut above the other houses, and had therefore maintained a certain distance, had retreated even further into themselves now. They gathered in huddles in classrooms, kept to their common room, and moved through the corridors in ominous groups. Muggle-born students were also travelling in packs, Remus had noted, and the teachers seemed to be making their presence known more than they had in previous years. They did not stop certain incidents from taking... This did not stop certain incidents from taking place, however. Anyone who was not a pureblood quickly became adept at defensive spells, and even the Marauders had swapped pranks for protection. Where are the bloody prefects when you need 'em? James complained, having just fired off a few well-placed Engorgio charms at a few of the 6th grade Slytherins who were tormenting a first-year Hufflepuff. The green-robed teens were now running away, clutching their various rapidly swelling extremities. I think even the prefects are scared, Sirius replied, leaning against the wall, looking bored as James helped the Hufflepuff to his feet. Cowards. All they can do is hand out detentions and take house points, Remus added, and I don't think the Slytherins even care about those anymore. I heard Mulciber last week saying they should all put up with trivial punishments for the promise of a greater reward. Mulciber said that? Sirius arched an eyebrow. Bloody hell, he's more eloquent than I gave him credit for. Yeah, or he's parroting back something someone else has told him, James countered, watching the Hufflepuff scurry away toward the kitchens. What do you think the reward is? Pete asked, scuffing his toe on the flagstones. Money, power, life eternal, Sirius sighed, rolling away from the wall and swaggering up the corridor. Godric knows. They won't get it, though. Why not? Because, Petey boy, we're gonna win.
Oh. This is too close.
This is too close to home. Oh.
I mean, in the end, yeah.
In the very, very end.
No thanks to Peter.
Yeah.
Ooh, what do we get? Shut up, Peter. Doesn't matter. You get nothing. That's what you get.
You get a silver hand.
Well, he has to trade his own hand for it.
Yes.
A hand for a hand.
Even though it's the other hand.
Yeah.
Hand won't tell. But by the end of September, Snape had still not made his move. This put Remus somewhat on edge, and he wondered whether that was the intention. Their only shared lessons this year were potions and arithmancy. Arithmancy was fortunately a relatively quiet class, which mainly involved taking down notes and figuring out equations. Potions, being more practical, gave Snape, and the Slytherins as a whole, scope for much greater interference. As they agreed on the first of term, Lily and Remus became partners, sharing a cauldron and dividing up notes and directions. This clearly infuriated Snape, who barely took his eyes off them the whole time. However, Remus had to admit that this appeared to have less to do with him than it did with Lily herself. Have you fallen out or something? Remus asked one afternoon as Severus shoved his way past to leave the dungeons. Lily sighed wearily. No, not exactly, she said. He got annoyed when I had Mary and Marlene to visit over the summer, that's all. Thinks they're not the right sort. I have to keep reminding him that I'm Muggle-born too. Why do you put up with it? I don't, really, she replied, sounding sad. I always have a go at him when he spouts that pure-blood nonsense, and sometimes I think he listens to me. Well, but it's not easy for him. James was not making things easier. Anyone could see that. He and Sirius had conveniently set up their cauldron next to Remus and Lily's, and ever since they'd made their bet, James's pursuance of Lily had dialed up a notch. Now James Potter was a true star on the Quidditch pitch. That much could not be denied. He was elegant and graceful. He thought tactically and moved with simple subtlety. When it came to Lily, he was none of these things. Give us a snog, Evans, he tried during their first lesson.
Wow, okay. No elegance or grace whatsoever.
He very much, Harry is his father's son.
Yeah.
We all remember what happened at Madame Puttyfoot's. We try to forget.
Well, at least Harry's dad knows what he wants.
Harry knows what he wants. He wanted Cho.
Oh, yeah, I guess, but
Lily was so appalled she swished her wand fiercely through the air, upturning the contents of Potter's cauldron. He and Sirius were stained bright blue for an entire week. The following week, undaunted, James tried again. This time he had consulted his father, who had suggested that he try complimenting the object of his affections. I really like your hair, he said confidently as soon as she approached the workbench. She responded, not looking up. Yeah, it's so, ginger. Remus saw Lily's jaw tighten. She hated being called Ginger. She told him once that she'd been teased for her hair in primary school. Remus took a step back, seeing Lily reach for her wand as she turned toward James with a false smile. Like it that much, do you? She asked. Sirius, who'd been watching Remus, took a step back as well. Poor James was too excited to finally have her attention and nodded vigorously. Oh yeah, I think it's Refusio, Lily whispered, pointing her wand at him. Sirius guffawed so loudly that half the class turned to look, and Remus had to cover his mouth to hide his own laughter. James's confusion made it even funnier, until Marlene handed over her compact mirror so that he could see his newly bright red hair. It took 48 hours to wear off, but it was no good. Even after 2 full days of being called Ginger Nut and Carrot Top, among some slightly ruder nicknames, wherever he went, James remained completely unshaken in his adoration. Just got to be patient, he said dreamily, running a hand through his messy auburn locks. Nothing worth having isn't worth waiting for. It's kind of impressive, Sirius whispered loudly to the others. I sort of don't want to win the bet. He's made it too easy. Yeah, James snorted. That's why. Oh, suck it, Cobberknob.
Oh, man. Would have been great if someone walked by. Red hair. You must be a Weasley.
Only a ginger can call another ginger ginger. I wouldn't know. Oh, this stuff is great.
James has no game whatsoever.
No, he's got nothing.
Which makes me wonder how he ended up getting Lily in the first place.
We will find out.
I guess persistence pays off.
Yeah, we'll find out whatever it is. Something's gonna happen.
And even more so, I want to know, will Wormtail win the bets?
How funny would that
usually
be?
root for Wormtail, but for the comedy aspect, it would be great if Wormtail did.
That would be good. It would be good.
Sirius and Lupin are gonna nog, but they can't tell anyone.
Oh.
That's forbidden.
Ooh.
So they won't care, like, yeah, okay, you won.
Yeah. Maybe.
Nah, this is slow burn, can't just blow up like that.
I'm assuming the feelings and the realization are gonna start some point soon, though.
You can kind of see it. Feelings are there now.
They're getting there. They're getting there. Yeah.
We're waiting for.
They're gonna have like a moment where they touch for too long or something. It's gonna be something like that.
Oh, is Sirius gonna drop his wand and Lupin will go to pick it up at the same time and their hands will just touch?
Yeah, something like that. Be like that.
Then they make eye contact and sorry.
Is this love? What I'm feeling? Could be. Is snogging the Quidditch captain like making out with the quarterback? I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's the equivalent. Yeah. If you snog the Quidditch captain, you've made it. Lola, what are you trying to do? She wants to like lay on him.
I know.
He's warm. I don't blame her.
If he would be cool with that, I wouldn't care, but I don't know.
I don't know if he'd be all right with that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny though. Maybe it's not because James is the Quidditch captain and everything, but
he's not yet.
Or not Quidditch captain, but he's a star Quidditch player.
Yeah, he's on the team.
And so far, Sirius and Lupin are the ones that everyone's interested in.
Well,
Lupin's
Sirius is like classically handsome.
Bit of a bad boy. And then Lupin is tall, dark, and mysterious type.
Mm-hmm. And also the most like relatable, like he wants to actually talk to them. He's the one that listens.
Talk to them.
But he's the one that listens, you know what I mean? He doesn't, but
I was gonna say he doesn't want to, he just ends up having to because he doesn't know what to do.
Well, yeah. But now that's like the reputation is like they're friends because they study together and stuff. So like he doesn't want to listen, but they're friends, so he's got to listen.
Yeah. Well, I think he likes Lily. It's just
doesn't like friends. Her. Yeah. Her other friends are a little. Mary is a bit much. I would not be friends with her either.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I wouldn't want to be friends with her either. I think I'd be all right being friends with Lily. I think Lily and I could get along.
Yeah.
But Mary, I don't know about that. I don't think I could handle that.
What about Marlene?
She's like middle of the road. I feel like I could tolerate her. She might get like annoying, but I feel like she's more tolerable than.
She's okay in small spurts.
Yeah. Plus, she's got issues, so I'd like feel bad because she got issues. She got problems at home.
Yeah.
But she's not as like wild and ridiculous as Mary. I feel like I could tolerate her.
That's fair.
Marlene though, or Mary though, no way. That'd be terrible. I don't think I can handle that.
All right, I'm gonna take a quick intermission to run to the bathroom real quick.
Oh, okay. Oh, say goodbye, Bailey. Goodbye, Bailey.
It's okay. Be right there.
All right. Oh my god, we've already been streaming for an hour and we've only read 2 chapters. Dear goodness me. What is gonna happen next? We're almost officially like halfway through the story too, so that's kind of nice. We'll I think it's chapter 64 we will officially be halfway through this story. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry everyone, I have to stretch. A big stretch. Big stretch. Oh. I wonder what's going to happen. The next chapter is called... So the last chapter was called September. The next chapter is called October. Very creative with the names here, aren't they, Lola? Very creative. Oh, I think we're back. That was fast.
Just had
Oh,
So what's the next chapter?
I literally just said it's called October. And we are 4 chapters away from being officially halfway through this story.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Halfway through the 188 chapter story.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder how long it took this person to write this fanfic.
That is a very good question. Oh, it says published 2002, completed 2012.
Okay, 10 years. Wow.
Well, because I'm assuming they're not a writer, or maybe they are. Maybe they are a professional writer or something. But I'm assuming they have another job other than this.
Well, maybe they aren't. Maybe they're studying writing or something.
Right. Maybe they were a student or something. But either way, obviously this is not their job.
Well, no.
But all right, chapter 60, 4th year, October. Very clever. Here.
So let's see. I'm sensing the next chapter will be November. See if I'm right.
Some commenters have said that you have the sight, my dear boy. Lola, you're so cute. When Lily's kisses were not forthcoming, James demanded that they extend the bet to last the whole year. Sirius, in turn, said that in that case it ought to be worth double the galleons, which turned Peter white. Remus once again registered his disapproval of the whole thing and demanded they count him out. Remus. He had much better things to spend his time on, and would not be spending any more money than he needed to. The others would have to be happy with a chocolate frog each for Christmas because he simply couldn't spare the cash. Remus knew that he would need every last nut the moment he turned 17 in order to begin his mission to find Greyback. His investigation so far had been fruitless. He'd gathered up as many old editions of the Daily Prophet as possible from the library and lying about the common room. Some of the more recent editions had articles which mentioned werewolf packs, but there was hardly any detail and no names mentioned. In the end, Remus was forced to conclude that nobody really knew anything solid. He imagined werewolves were hard to find, especially if they were ordinary wizards most of the time. Asking Ferox seemed like the most sensible course of action. The Care of Magical Creatures teacher had suggested that he knew more than he had initially revealed to Remus last term, only Remus hadn't had the presence of mind to ask, still reeling from the news that Ferox had worked for Lyle. He needed to work up the nerve before going back, however, and plan his questions carefully enough so that Ferox wouldn't suspect anything. October began and ended with a full moon that year.
Bless you.
Sorry. Which seemed very unfair, especially as it meant Remus would miss the Halloween feast. Still, the weather was unseasonably warm, and the Marauders spent most of their free time enjoying the grounds under a fair blue sky, surrounded by the golden reds and browns of the most beautiful autumn Remus could remember. On weekends he would settle down in the Quidditch stands with several books, parchment and a quill, and complete his homework and advanced reading, occasionally glancing up to watch one of James's drills, or cheer on poor Peter, who got stuck in the stand as the stand-in keeper. Sometimes Marlene practiced with them, which made the afternoons even more pleasant, as Lily and Mary would inevitably pop by. Sirius was unable to sit still at all during these sessions. He alternated between trying to focus on his homework, to hopping onto his broom for a race with James, to scribbling down complex tactical plays he thought the Gryffindor team ought to use in their first game, scheduled for November. "We're going to trash the Slytherins this year," he kept muttering. "Got to show 'em." Slytherin had won the Quidditch Cup the year before, and it was an immensely sore point with the Gryffindors, particularly Sirius, as both Narcissa and Regulus had been on the winning team. This year it was only Regulus who had replaced his older cousin as Seeker. Remus only knew this from James. Sirius had mentioned nothing. "You need to lean into your broom more when you take a swing," Sirius was telling Marlene, who'd just sat down for a rest. She was red in the face, fair hair plastered against her damp temples, and not in the mood for Sirius's commentary. "I hit the 9 blodgers out of 10, she replied, panting. 10 times in my best games. Even Mulciber can't manage that." "Don't try to be better than the competition," Sirius admonished piously. "You've only got yourself to beat." "Look, Black, if you think you can do better, we're having tryouts for beaters on Tuesday." "Nah," He waved a hand, looking away. You beat me fair and square. 2 years ago. He didn't respond, and Marlene just shrugged, then staggered to her feet and headed back toward the pitch, where James was calling for her. Remus had been reading his book throughout this exchange and hadn't wanted to interfere. He shot a glance at Sirius, who was leaning forward on the barrier, his chin resting on his arms as he watched the practice. Peter made a decent save, and Sirius's eyes lit up. Remus bit his lip and thought hard before saying quietly, There are 2 beaters on a Quidditch team, you know. Bloody hell, Mooney, Sirius replied sarcastically, not taking his eyes off the pitch. 4 years and you've finally learnt something about the game. Remus ignored that, only tutting under his breath. You know your problem? Do tell. You're proud. Sirius laughed. And you're not? Maybe, but I'd make a shit beater, wouldn't I? Sirius went quiet again. Remus sighed heavily, closing his book, packing it into his bag. Look, you're going to hate yourself later if you don't have another crack at it. Just going to sit here cheering James on for 3 more years. He stood up. I'm freezing. Off to the library. See you at dinner? Yeah, see you, Mooney. That Tuesday, Remus went along to watch the Gryffindor team trials and said nothing when he saw Sirius arrive, broom in hand. He didn't even smile smugly, though he dearly wanted to. 2 hours later, Gryffindor had their new beater, and Remus realized that he now had to share his dorm with 2 Jameses. Except for one very important difference. While Sirius was undoubtedly full of passion for the sport, he appeared to lack James's discipline, particularly in the mornings. Wakey, wakey, James chanted brightly as he exited the bathroom, hair shining and wet, the only time it ever lay flat on his head. He pushed on his glasses and flicked his wand at Sirius's bed, drawing the curtains. It was a week after trials, and this scene was becoming commonplace. Remus was already awake, almost dressed for breakfast, planning to get an hour's reading before lessons started. He was tying up his shoelaces as he watched James and Sirius begin their new morning routine. Sirius, who was little more than a shapeless lump under the duvet, groaned like a disgruntled troll. Piss off, Potter, he hissed, burying his head under the pillow. You wanted to be on the team, Sirius, old chum. Come on, up you get. Levicorpus. With that, Sirius's body flew into the air, seemingly yanked by some invisible force, leaving him hanging upside down in mid-air while James laughed hysterically.
Wait, wasn't Levicorpus one of the spells that Snape came up with?
Yeah, it is in the book, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought Snape came up with that spell. Not the Marauders.
Yeah, well, maybe they've seen Snape use it.
Maybe. Well, they must have, because they hung Snape up by his ankles, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind, it's a common spell. I just remember it from...
He sees it in the book. Yeah, Harry sees it in the book. Yeah.
Wasn't thinking. And, sorry to hear that, Dan, but have a happy new year, and thanks for dropping in.
I can't believe that worked. Been trying to do that since Christmas. Let me down, you wanker. Be nice. Let me down. Finite. Sirius landed on the floor with a thud and leapt up immediately, rubbing the arm he'd landed on. Bloody hell, he grinned at James. That was amazing. Now let me do it to you. Okay. Bodily levitation did not become a regular fixture of the 4th year boys' dorm, but trying to drag Sirius out of bed did. Just one day off a week, Potter, I'm begging you, he groaned at the breakfast table early one Sunday morning. He barely opened his eyes, his lolling head propped up on his elbow. You're the one who wants to destroy Slytherin, James replied cheerily, buttering some toast and sliding it over to his friend. Sirius glanced down at the offering disdainfully and looked away, closing his eyes again. James sighed. Not just you, either. The whole school wants to see them beaten. Think of it as doing your bit for the war effort. I thought you were doing your bit by hexing them in the corridors, Remus said, helping himself to a slice of Sirius's toast. Exactly, Sirius grunted, eyes still closed. And that can be done at a reasonable hour. This is the only time we can fit practices in, James said, starting to sound a bit annoyed now. "There's no point going after dark. The pitch gets booked up in the evenings and lessons start at 9. "Even if they started at 12, you'd have trouble getting Sirius up," Peter said, mouthful of porridge. "We should get time turners," Sirius yawned without a trace of humour. "Students who need their beauty sleep should be issued with them." "What's a time turner?" Remus asked, taking Sirius' second slice of toast. "Turns back time, obviously," Sirius said scathingly. "They're illegal," James said quickly, "without ministry permission, and really, really dangerous." "I'm really, really dangerous if I don't get enough sleep," Sirius grumbled. "Matron used to make us all get up at 6 on weekends," Remus said thoughtfully, swallowing the last bit of toast. "She thought it was healthy or something. One of the older boys got into her room once and fiddled with her alarm clock, though, and we got away with an extra 2 hours in bed every day for a week before she noticed." "Muggles are ingenious," James chuckled. "But stay away from my alarm clock." Remus murmured, deep in thought. He could feel the beginnings of an idea coming on. "Oh, no, we've lost him," Sirius said, watching Remus. "Probably daydreaming about nogtails and nifflers again. I swear, care of magical creatures is the only subject he cares about anymore."
"Oh, it's not the subject he cares about."
No. "Leave Mooney alone and eat your breakfast," James castigated. "I want you on the pitch in 5 minutes." "Fine," Sirius sighed heavily and looked down at his plate. "Oi, where's my breakfast?" "Gotta go," Remus said, suddenly standing up. "Library, see you in potions." Early mornings were Remus's favourite times in the library. Everything was so neat and tidy, and he usually had the place to himself. Very few students were in the mood to study first thing, but Remus had found that during certain phases of the moon he barely slept 5 hours a night anyway, so he was a regular visitor. The idea took a while to form properly, but he wanted it to be clear and complete before bringing it before the other Marauders. Then at least it would be fully his prank. Remus felt the need to make his mark on something this year. Everyone else seemed focused on other things, the war, Quidditch, or the great snogging race, as Sirius had so eloquently dubbed it. They hadn't even tried to sneak to Honeydukes once. Remus felt very strongly that the Marauders needed a prank, and a big one. He wasted half an hour researching complex and convoluted time spells, incantations to stop time, speed it up, slow it down, or even bend it. He wasn't really sure how bending time worked, but it didn't sound pleasant or within his scope of ability. Eventually, he came to the conclusion that he was overthinking it, as usual. This was not a magical problem. It was mechanical. By the time the school day was about to begin, Remus had located the passage he needed in Hogwarts A History and was satisfied that he'd have a plan by the end of the week. He left for potions in a pretty good mood, one which was quickly shattered when he realized he was being followed. The feeling of being watched had been pricking the back of his neck while he'd been in the library, but as it was generally a quiet and solitary place anyway, he put it down to an overactive imagination. And there were always the chance that Madame Pomfrey was Madame Pince was lurking behind him, standing guard over her precious books. By 8:45, the hallways were crowded with students hurrying to their lessons, chattering and giggling, hurriedly eating breakfast on the go, or scribbling down last-minute homework. Although this year Remus's policy had been never to travel alone, he was satisfied that it was busy enough that there were enough Gryffindors around to be safe. However, as he began to descend their first set of stairs leading to the dungeon, the prickling feeling returned once more. As a rule, Remus tried to ignore instincts like that. They belonged to the wolf, and he resented the intrusion. But he couldn't shake it and reached for his wand, gripping it tight. Finally, only a corridor away from the potions classroom, he made a deliberate wrong turn and darted behind a tapestry. Sure enough, only a few seconds later, Severus Snape peered around the corner, looking confused. Irritation boiled up in Remus's throat, and before he could think about it reasonably, he pointed his wand at the Slytherin and chanted, "Petrificus Totalis!" Snape went rigid, a look of surprise on his face that would have been comical if Remus wasn't so angry. The black-haired boy fell to the ground, arms and legs straight as a board, completely paralyzed. His beady black eyes stared around frantically as Remus stepped out from his hiding place. He gave him a kick, not too hard, and only in the shin, and smirked down at Severus. "Stop following me, you creep," he said. "Didn't I warn you?" Snape stared helplessly up at him, and Remus laughed before heading to potions with a spring in his step.
Snape, 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 Snape. What are you doing?
He's trying.
He's trying. Not very well.
No, he didn't do very good. That was not good.
Looks like the only thing that can stop the great snogging war is Quidditch.
Quidditch always interferes with everything.
Forget witches. Catch snitches.
Snitches, not witches.
Snitches, not witches. So yeah, what do you think the prank's gonna be?
I don't know. Something about time.
I know, but it's mechanical, not magical.
I think they're gonna fool someone into thinking that time is
repeating,
changed or something. Yeah, or they're stuck in a loop. I think it's gonna be like a physical thing.
Polyjuice potion thing, and all transform into one person, and then he walks by,
and then they do it again.
He walks by again, and then he walks by again.
Yeah, mess with somebody that way.
Yeah,
I feel like it's gonna be something physical like that. It's not gonna be. There'll be magic involved, but I think it'll definitely be something physical that'll trick someone into thinking something's going on.
Whatever it is, it has to be Remus's and only his.
He's got to get the gang back together because they're too focused on girls.
Gross.
Disgusting.
Cooties. And yeah, Remus mentions to Harry, Levicorpus was pretty popular at one point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he does. Spells go in and out of fashion.
Yeah.
They have that whole conversation. Yep. I remember that.
Apparently, James started the trend.
What a setter. What a trendsetter. James is an influencer.
He is.
With no game.
Man's brilliant.
Brilliant at everything except getting girls.
Well, he's one girl.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And it works out. So technically, you can't even argue that. Like, he gets there in the end.
He does. That's true.
It's not a pretty journey, but he gets there.
This is true. And if he did want to win, he's only going after one girl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Sirius is doing, but maybe Sirius isn't even trying.
I don't think Sirius is trying.
No.
I think he's got eyes for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Peter's going to win the bet.
Peter's going to win.
Yep. Desdemona, or whatever her name is, he's going to kiss her.
Either that or Remus is going to win it, but then he's going to realize that this is yucky.
These aren't the lips I want.
No.
This isn't the smile that I've been thinking about.
This isn't the smile I want to wake up next to.
Oh my god.
The smile just isn't the same. So is the next chapter called November? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Part 1.
We're blazing through this year.
Yeah, we are.
1 month.
I know. It's almost Christmas time already.
We didn't even do Halloween.
Yeah.
Do you not have a Halloween chapter? They have no, they wouldn't have Thanksgiving. It's had a dumb guy moment that's...
What'd you say?
I was like, I wonder if they'll have Thanksgiving. Like, well, no, obviously they won't. Wrong country.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
We're not at what's the school called in Fantastic Beasts?
Ilvermorny.
Was it?
Ilvermorny.
Ilvermorny?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it, he says.
Doesn't have the same ring as Hogwarts.
No, it's totally not the same.
Also, I want to know what's with like the love of hogs in this area, because it's Hogwarts, Hogsmeade.
Pigs is funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like.
I don't know. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Not a lot happened in this chapter. This is setting up.
Yeah, this is all setting up for some stuff to go down.
Gonna happen in this chapter, the grand reveal.
November part 1. I don't know.
Part 1. See, it's gonna be the reveal. Part 2 will be
the event.
The events. Maybe another monsoon will strike.
There's a monsoon in your lagoon.
Snape's Lagoon.
They found a theme and they went with it. Yep,
that's right.
That's right. Alrighty, shall we?
We shall.
Chapter 61, 4th year, November, part 1.
Okay, Severus.
Don't forget, I need a 3-page essay on the similarities and differences between Thunderbirds and Phoenixes on Friday at the latest, Professor Ferox called out. No excuses! Thunderbird. That's one of the houses at Ilvermorny.
Oh. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. It's a lot better than Hufflepuff.
Thunderbird does sound pretty badass, that's true.
Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Thunderbird. But that's such an American sounding name.
It really is. It really is. It's violently American. And the lady that founded Hogwarts, is a descendant of Salazar Slytherin.
Oh, okay.
Did I just say Hogwarts?
Yeah, you did. Ilvermorny.
Ilvermorny. Sorry.
You just want to say Hogwarts.
I do just want to say it does. Hogwarts is just Hogwarts. It flows so nicely.
No one's singing "Gotta get back to Ilvermorny."
Gotta get back to Ilvermorny. Gotta go back to school. Ilvermorny. Just doesn't work. It's not the same.
Sounds like you're having a stroke.
Yeah. You don't want to say it out loud. Yeah. Mary and Marlene groaned as they packed away their things. I completely forgot about that, Marlene whispered. I've got practice almost every night this week. We've got that Ravenclaw match on Sunday. I'll lend you my notes, Remus replied, carefully blotting his paper. It's really easy. Sunday's Sirius's birthday too, isn't it? Mary asked thoughtfully. Yeah, how'd you know? Well, we did sort of go out last year, Mary said haughtily, tutting at Remus. And you lot always make such a massive fuss over birthdays, it's pretty hard to forget. God, I hope Gryffindor win, or he'll be in a right mood. Yeah, Remus agreed. He hadn't thought about that. He'd planned to reveal his big prank plan on Sirius's birthday in lieu of a proper gift. Now he wondered if he ought to buy something as well, though they weren't due in Hogsmeade for a few more weeks. He could always give Sirius a pack of cigarettes, but that seemed a bit cheap, especially as Sirius knew they were stolen. Andromeda had already sent some presents ahead, care of the Potters, and James had hidden them under his bed. More records, of course. Remus dearly hoped that one of them was the new Bowie LP, Diamond Dogs. I'm off to the Owlry. Need to send something to Darren, Mary said as they left the classroom. Coming, Miles? Marlene looked a bit put out, so Remus said quickly, I'm going to the library if you want to get those notes. Yeah, thanks, Remus. They said goodbye to Mary and began walking in the opposite direction together. Remus liked Marlene a lot. She was tall for a girl, and he didn't have to crane his neck to talk to her all the time. Other than her emotional outburst at the end of their 3rd year, she was also very much a no-nonsense kind of person, which Remus found very calming compared to Mary, who was always a lot of fun, but sometimes very full-on. Thanks, Marlene grinned at him. I love the girl, but there's only so many times I can proofread her dirty letters to Darren. Dirty letters? Remus gaped. Marlene laughed. Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. Remus, can I ask you something? What? Does Sirius like me? Remus fought his initial reaction, which was one of despair. It felt as though he hadn't got through a week of the new year yet without having to listen to someone's romantic problems. What is that? Did it bobbans?
No, I think the cats, that cardboard box, I think one of the cats are sharpening their nails in it.
Why did they all think he was the best person to talk to? When had he ever given the impression that he was remotely interested? I don't know, he said, hoping he didn't sound too annoyed. You'd have to ask him. I don't think he'd give me a straight answer, Marlene chuckled. Sorry, it's just he's been acting really weird around me during Quidditch practice. Weird? Yeah, just comments and stuff. It's a bit annoying, really. I don't really fancy him as much as I used to. You know, he's such an attention seeker. He's always much more Mary's type. What comments? Stuff about me giving him a kiss for luck or something. Maybe it's just his idea of flirting, or maybe it's a joke. You never know with James and Sirius, do you? It suddenly dawned on Remus what was going on, and he was half angry, half embarrassed for Sirius. What? Marlene said, stopping just outside the library. What's that face for? Marlene, look, I'm really sorry about this, but... And he explained to her all about the bet. Okay, yes, she was quite likely to tell Mary, and Mary was extremely likely to tell everyone else in their year, but this would serve the boys right, in Remus's opinion. He took a distinct pleasure in ruining Sirius's chances at winning the stupid bet. Fortunately, Marlene was a very sensible girl, and by the end of Remus's explanation, she was giggling. That makes so much sense, she said, wheezing. James kept trying to stop Sirius from talking to me and everything. Those boys are completely ridiculous. Yeah, Remus grinned, relieved that someone else shared this opinion. Oh, great, now I can have some fun with this, Marlene smirked as they entered the library, lowering their voices. She then added a little wistfully, Shame James hasn't tried it on. He might have a chance. Remus raised his eyebrows. Well, he's only got eyes for lilies, so... Marlene sighed. That's a losing battle. Still, never mind. They settled down at their favourite desk, which was near the biggest window, and provided some nice natural light. Remus pulled out his notes and showed Marlene how he'd listed all of the qualities of thunderbirds, then phoenixes, then how he'd begun to compare the two. Grateful for his help, Marlene offered up her astronomy notes, and the two of them spent a companionable hour scribbling away. Eventually it became time for dinner. Remus, Marlene said quietly as they finished up, are all of the Marauders in on this bet, or just James and Sirius? I think Peter's doing it. He might regret it a bit now, though. So you're not? No, he replied, a little bit more loudly than he meant to. Shame, she said, her eyes twinkling. 'Cause I bet you could win. She snorted. As if. Girls like you. You're really nice and kind and clever. Shut up. I'd snog you. Oh my God, Marlene! Remus started walking a bit faster, his ears feeling very red, feeling very hot. You're my friend! Yeah, but just to win the bet. She grinned, matching his pace. He forgot how athletic she was, and he still had a dodgy hip. Isn't there anyone you fancy? No, come on, I'm hungry. It wasn't a lie, Remus thought to himself. It sort of felt like one, though.
Remus. No, I don't.
No. All right, Katie, hopefully you will be back.
Yes, Remus is missing his schnogging.
Just for science. Go, Gryffindor! Go! Remus chanted along with everyone else. Having Peter wildly waving his scarf over his head like a lunatic with a knitted lasso helped mitigate any embarrassment Remus might have felt for himself. He was nervous, though. More nervous than he'd been for James and Marlene's first game. Because Sirius, while he was very good at flying, did not always make the best decisions under pressure, and Quidditch was a dangerous sport if you were reckless. Half the crowd was decked out in blue, the other half in scarlet, and a deafening cacophony of boos and cheers erupted as the two teams walked onto the pitch. James was visible as ever with his wild mess of hair, and from a distance the two Gryffindor beaters were the same height, indistinguishable. Deep
breath.
Distinguishable only by their different coloured ponytails poking out under their helmets, one flaxen, one black. Remus felt his heart in his mouth as the players mounted their brooms, squatted slightly, then launched into the air at the blow of the whistle. It was hard to know who to follow, as James zipped up and down the pitch like a lightning bolt in pursuit of the quaffle. Like a lightning bolt. Oh, nice imagery there. While Marlene and Sirius split off, covering different ends of the pitch, bats aloft. The two beaters had very different styles. Marlene was focused and tended to tail the players rather than the bludger in order to better protect her teammates. Sirius favoured a different tact, going directly after the offending balls no matter where they were and knocking them as far away from the game as possible. "This is Black's first game and he's obviously throwing himself into it," the commentator's voice echoed over the crowds. "He's no doubt received plenty of coaching from Potter, who's just scored the first goal. That's Gryffindor in the lead, with 10 points. Remus was too anxious to cheer along with everyone else, getting dizzy trying to follow all three of his friends in the air. "As I was saying," the commentator, a seventh-year Hufflepuff, continued, "lots of talent on the Gryffindor side this year. Potter, of course, and McKinnon, who's one of the best beater the Reds have had in years, and now Sirius Black, the black sheep of a bona fide Quidditch dynasty. You'll remember his cousin, Narcissa Black of Slytherin, one of the finest seekers Hogwarts has ever seen, and of course the younger Black brother, Regulus, who has taken Narcissa's place for a season as chaser. Rumour has it there's bad blood in the Black clan, so you can bet that the Gryffindor-Slytherin matchup next term is going to be... If you would please focus on the game currently in progress, Miss Darcy," McGonagall snapped over the megaphone. "Sorry, Professor. So that's Dunelm of Ravenclaw in possession of the quaffle. She shoots, Oh, and it's a bad miss." The game went on, and Remus hoped that Sirius hadn't been listening to the commentary. Bringing up the Black family was a surefire way to break his concentration. But no, all seemed well. He was hitting the bludgers with a bit more vigour, but that could have just as easily been adrenaline. By the end of the game, it became evident that Remus's concerns were for nothing. Sirius may not act as though he took Quidditch seriously off the pitch, but clearly having a cheering audience did wonders for his concentration. Once the Gryffindor Seeker caught the snitch, ending the match on a 300-110 in Gryffindor's favour, the two beaters flew to the ground. Remus saw Sirius throw a gallant arm round Marlene's shoulder and lean in, only to be dodged deftly as she offered her cheek for him to kiss.
Oh.
The common room was a riot of red, gold, and rock music that evening. The whole house came out to celebrate both Gryffindor's victory and Sirius's birthday. Remus, for what it was worth, sold more cigarettes than he had all year so far. He'd come prepared, assuming correctly that the older students would be drinking, making them more inclined to pay up for a hit of nicotine. He himself stayed away from any suspicious-looking drinks, remembering his hellish hangovers from the summer. Sirius and James were in their element, of course, roaring with laughter and soaking up all the congratulations from their classmates. Peter hung about close enough to enjoy the limelight, but not so much as to get in the way. Remus was happy to watch at a distance, chatting with Lily and Mary and enjoying the snacks brought up from the kitchens. He knew he would not get a chance to divulge his plan until much later, but that was okay. Better for everyone to enjoy themselves. There was plenty of time yet. At some point, Sirius finally got around to opening his presents, a broom repair kit from James, a lot of chocolate from Peter, and from Andromeda, no less than 3 brand new albums. Dark Side of the Moon, Country Life, which had an incredibly rude cover that all of the boys smirked, passed around, and made Remus want to die from embarrassment, and Diamond Dogs. "Hoo!" Remus said, unable to contain his excitement as he held the much-awaited record in his hands, stroking the bizarre nightmarish artwork. "Put this one on first, please." Sirius grinned. "Anything for you, Moony," and settled the disc into place on the turntable.
Anything.
Always.
Oh. Okay, then. That was creepy, weird, and just okay. Oh.
Oh. I'm glad I could entertain you.
It worked.
The record player howled, sending a shiver of shock down Remus's spine. The cry of a wolf. He stared up at James and Sirius in alarm. They looked as surprised as he, though Sirius broke into a smile as David Bowie's voice filled the room as if speaking an incantation. Sorry. Water. Eyeball water.
Tears?
Yes.
I'm sorry, there's eyeball water coming out of my eye. They're tears. My eyes.
Eyeball water is not incorrect.
Well, I guess not. No.
Now I'm gonna look like a raccoon.
Your eyes are leaking. Why are your eyes leaking?
And in the death, as the last few corpses lay rotting on the slimy thoroughfare, the shutters lifted in inches in Temperance Building, high on Poacher's Hill, and red mutant eyes gazed down on Hunger City. The whole common room was uncomfortably quiet as this grim, ugly poem was recited, not quite sure where to look as dogs howled and whined in the background. It made Remus feel dark and dirty, but he thought he liked it, as if it were Bowie speaking directly to him, especially as the final lines were yelled out. "This ain't rock and roll, this is genocide."
Oh, was that the end?
No,
Oh.
But Katie asked what she missed.
Oh. What did she miss? The Quidditch match?
There was a Quidditch match. Gryffindor won.
And Sirius got a kiss.
Well, it was a cheek.
A cheek kiss.
Cheek kiss. He kissed Marlene on the cheek.
On the cheek.
On the cheek.
On the cheek.
Did Katie leave when Marlene said that she would kiss Lupin?
I think so.
I think so.
Just for the bet. Just to win the bet. That's all.
Just to win the bet. Yeah, they were in the library.
The galleons.
And Marlene said she would kiss Lupin for the pet. And she asked if Sirius liked her or not. Lupin was like, Nope.
No. Stay away.
Sirius doesn't like anyone. Only me.
That was pretty much it.
That was pretty much it,
the
yeah.
Quidditch game and then the discussion with
Marlene about kissing. And that James going after Lily is a lost cause.
Yeah. Oh, and James could get it too.
Yeah,
if
James
he went after someone else.
Yeah, James could get it if he broadened his horizons a little bit. That was it. "A whole month?" Sirius whispered loudly. 30 days, yep, James replied in the same stage whisper. "If we do it over the summer..." "You forgot the silencing spell, idiots," Remus called out. "Bugger!" Lots of rustling. It was well past midnight on the day of Sirius's birthday, and the party had long since been broken up by the prefects. The Marauders had climbed the stairs to bed, sleepy and excitable, but apparently James and Sirius had had a second wind and were now in private conference in James's bed. Remus had a pretty good idea what they were talking about, but had decided to leave them be for now. See how far they took it. Still, he knew they'd realized they'd forgotten the spell eventually, and decided honesty was the best policy. They're talking about animagus things.
Yes, they are.
Yes, Katie, you missed teenage drama. That was exactly what you missed.
The whole 30-day thing. That's the leaf.
The leaf in the mouth.
30 days.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Remus and Sirius poked their heads out from behind their respective curtains at the same time. Sorry, Moony. Sirius grinned. Did we wake you? Nah, Remus shrugged. I was thinking about this prank. Prank? James's head joined Sirius's in the gap between the curtains. Who said prank? Remus smiled shyly. He thought he might have to wait until next weekend to tell them, but James magnanimously opened the bed curtains further. Please, Mr. Moony, he said, step into our office. Eagerly, Remus scrambled out of his own tangle of bedsheets and padded barefoot across the chilly bedroom floor into James's bed. He felt as though he'd been waiting 4 years for an invite. Well, James asked seriously, pointing his wand light at Remus like a microphone. Tell us. Just a second. Remus rolled his eyes, withdrawing his own wand. Muffliato. He's too clever for us, Sirius said dryly. Indeed, James agreed. Remus ignored them. They were jumpy and silly from lack of sleep. He had to at least give them the gist of his plan before they finally crashed. Remember how I was telling you about Matron's alarm clock? He asked them quickly. The boys nodded obediently, like cocker spaniels. And how we used to fiddle with it so we didn't have to get up early anymore? More nodding. Well, I was thinking about how it could be applied to Hogwarts. I did some research and... Did you know that all the clocks at this school are controlled by one master clock? The big one outside the Great Hall? Moony! Sirius cried, suddenly throwing himself at Remus, flinging his arms round him with such force that they both toppled backwards onto the bed. Startled, Remus tried to push him away, but Sirius held fast, pretending to sob into his shoulder with joy. You've read Hogwarts a History! One of you has finally read it! You're now my favourite Marauder! Get off, Tosser! Remus growled, finally forcing him off and shoving him further away on the bed, James laughing at both of them. No one would ever guess you're the oldest, Black, James grinned. Moony, please continue. The big clock. Right, yeah. Remus straightened his nightshirt, feeling very hot and flushed from the assault. So I had this idea. It was no good. He'd completely lost his train of thought. Now all he could think about was what an irritating idiot Sirius was.
Irritating, right.
Yeah, very irritating.
The thing in that hug was pretty nice.
The big clock controls all the others, Sirius filled in, quickly, remarkably lucid now. It's a spell that makes sure every clock and watch in the castle is perfectly synchronized. Even the ones we bring in from home reset. Even Muggle clocks. It's a bloody good bit of magic. Yeah, Remus nodded, getting back into the flow. Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, if that clock goes wrong or gets moved by 5 minutes, then so do all the others. And it would affect lesson times, meals, and pretty much the whole running of the castle. And if we started really slowly, say, moving it forward 5 minutes a night, no one would notice for ages. Would they? I mean, how could anyone notice if all the clocks are the same? He finished, sitting back and looking at James because he was still annoyed with Sirius for flustering him and almost spoiling it. James's brain was working at warp speed. Remus knew this because he'd pushed his glasses back up on his nose. Finally, he looked at Sirius and smiled. Our Moony has done it again.
So they're gonna change time.
Yep.
We finally read Hogwarts a History.
Yep. Oh, Moony!
Oh, you're being so annoying.
Stop it.
Stop.
Get away from me.
So, yeah.
So we're gonna change time.
How are they gonna change it, though? How do you get access to that clock? And if it's magic, how do you...
Yeah, they're gonna have to, like... Yeah.
They're literally just gonna climb up and just move it a little bit, like the arm or the hand.
And it'll just keep going?
Yeah.
Maybe it is that simple.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I wonder what Dumbledore would think about that. I feel like that's something where Dumbledore... Dumbledore would have to get involved. They got caught with that.
Yeah, I feel like, because that's going to affect everybody. Everybody. The house elves, everybody. That'll be interesting.
Right, it would be interesting, though. All of a sudden, you're in class. McGonagall's just like, it's getting dark really early now.
I feel like if anyone, McGonagall is going to figure that out. She's going to be pissed.
You can most certainly not have a biscuit.
Because she strikes me as being very regimented and rigid on her time schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like she'll be the first one to be like, Plus, she gave Hermione the time turner, and she worked with Hermione with it. So I think she's got some knowledge and background with the time stuff. I don't know. I just feel like McGonagall's going to be like,
This doesn't seem right. Why is it dark out at noon? Will be interesting to see how long it takes.
Somebody to figure it out. The only flaw is if anyone is looking at a watch or a clock when they do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they're going to have to do it at night, right? When pretty much everyone is asleep. That'll be their best bet. And if they're wearing the invisibility cloak, they could always just blame it on Peeves.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I'm surprised Peeves hasn't done it. Maybe he has. Maybe they're going to run into some other type of protection that Dumbledore put on it because Peeves did it like 10 years ago.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. And it'll be like a Fred and George situation. They'll like grow beards or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that definitely is true. If someone happens to see it, then...
You wake up in the middle of the night and roll over, look at your clock, and all of a sudden the numbers just start boop, 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 boop.
Right. Or the hand just starts going... And you're just like, what is happening?
Going back to bed. Hogwarts is getting too weird.
Hogwarts is getting too weird. That's what we want to know. Maybe it does require magic. Maybe you can't just simply boop.
And in which
maybe
case,
you have to like do
there be some sort of protection against people changing it.
I have a feeling that that'll be part of like how they do it. We'll get the explanation of how to bypass the enchantments or whatever.
It'll just be interesting to see how that's all set up in the story. So here's a question. Who do you think's going to win the bet? Because I feel like there's going to be a winner declared pretty soon. It seems like the girls are in on it now, too, since Remus told Marlene.
Yeah, so Mary's going to know, then Lily's going to know.
Mary just tells everyone everything.
Again, why I would not be friends with her.
So, yeah,
I have definitely had an afternoon nap and then woken up when it's dark outside and gone, oh my god, what time is it?
Oh, yeah.
What year is it? What is happening? Definitely had those naps before.
Funny story from when I was a kid. I fell asleep and I didn't even realize I fell asleep. And I woke up and like it was sunset. But me being like, I was probably like 6 or 7 at the time. I thought like the sun was coming up. So I like hopped out of bed and I got ready for school and everything. I like run downstairs with my backpack and stuff, and my mom's just standing there like, what are you doing? It's like 6 o'clock at night. Like, I'm getting ready for school. What? Yeah. But yes, I have also done that too, where it's like, I'll just take a quick nap.
And then, like, hours later. Mm-hmm. That's the dangerous thing about taking a nap. You could take a 30-minute nap, or 3 hours. It's scary.
That's why when you say you're gonna just lay down for like 30 minutes, I'm like, nope.
Yeah, it's always like
you're gonna lay down for 30 minutes about 5 times in a row.
That's why I don't nap.
Yes.
That's why I try not to nap, because I always sleep for like 2-3 hours, and I don't want to do that.
I actually found the rule is you're not supposed to nap longer than 30 minutes. Because after 30 minutes, you fall into REM sleep, and then you're more tired from waking up than you are if you had just stayed up.
But I'm not good at waking up. That's the problem.
But it's easier to wake up if you do it before.
Well, yeah.
So if you take like a 20-minute nap, it's actually better.
Don't talk about taking a nap.
For an hour and 30 minutes.
Don't talk about nap time.
90-minute cycles.
I can't talk about naps right now. You're making me want to take a nap.
I remember I never took naps until college. Once I got to college, it was like I started researching how to take the best nap. That's why I know all these facts. So like, let's see, I only have like an hour in between each class. How long should I take a nap for? And
I've never napped. Like, I don't nap. I've never napped. No. I don't nap.
I used to have to.
Nope. Oh, that's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Been there and done that with Ramona. Take a nap, no sleep now. No sleep. Not happening.
Yep.
It's not happening.
Although I do miss the days when Ramona would take a nap. Because now she is like, she'll get tired during the day and she needs a nap, but she fights it.
Yeah, she refuses.
And then
completely refuses.
Yeah. And then she wants to do more stuff, and it's like she has more energy, but she doesn't. And whatever she does is going to end badly because she's cranky.
Yep. I still don't know how to nap.
Oh, man.
I mean, theoretically, I know how to nap. But I can't put it into practice because I can't sleep for 30 minutes. I always sleep for like 2 hours.
Lay down, flat on the back, legs elevated above the heart. About 15, 20 minutes or so. No longer. You're good. Power nap.
I know, but it takes 15, 20 minutes for me to fall asleep.
That's why it's 15 minutes on average for a person to fall asleep. So you factor that in. So if you have an hour, then you just say, all right, I'm going to nap for 40 minutes. Set your timer for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Take
but
about
then
15 minutes for you to fall asleep. 20-minute nap. You're awake, you're refreshed. I just said refreshed twice. I don't know why.
Yeah, but then I hit the snooze or I don't hear it and I just keep sleeping.
That's why I put my alarm out of arm's reach. So I have to get up.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's napping is dangerous. Ooh,
yes,
excuse me.
Overnights. You learn real quick how to sleep from overnights. I feel you, Morgan.
Yeah, overnights is, yeah.
Yeah.
Bless you, Lola.
I'm actually trying to reduce the amount of caffeine I drink from when I used to work overnights. Because when I used to work overnights, I would have like 3 monsters a night. Plus coffee. Just to stay awake.
I remember I used to drink a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, and it got to the point where like Morgan was saying, I could drink like a cup of coffee or have a monster, and then like she does, just go to sleep.
Yep, I remember that because you'd be like, it doesn't work on me anymore. Yeah. Caffeine just doesn't work. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I'm sorry, I don't know. I keep stretching so much. Oh. Y'all are making me want to take a nap.
That's interesting, Katie. If you drink coffee just before a nap, then sleep for half an hour, then when you wake up, the caffeine should kick in. Test that out.
Yeah, that seems to make logical sense.
There's nothing like a lecture to lull you to sleep.
I'm pretty grateful that my online schooling that I did was mostly independent study and just book work and not lectures.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. Because, I don't mind the lecture setting, but just give me the book. Let me read the book and write the paper. I don't need anything else. Just let me do it. Micro naps. There you go. The micro nap, mini nap.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of did that at work one day. I literally almost fell asleep at my desk at work one day, like a month and a half ago. I was so tired in the afternoon. I sat here like this. I was starting to fall asleep.
Oh yeah.
You can get up and pee and not miss anything. That's nice.
No one knows you're on the toilet when you're in the lecture.
That's true. You're just sitting there listening. No one is gonna know. Why do you eat your feet?
That is one good part about doing online classes, though. When you're doing the lecture, you can just take a quick power nap and then,
That's true. No. This is the benefit. Like I said, I didn't really have any classes where there were lectures. I just had the book. But
lecture, you can just, record it and
yeah, it's true. Hey, Katie, my current coworker goes in her car to sleep on her lunch breaks. Except she doesn't wake up on time. She had to have another coworker come out and wake her up, or else she'd wake up late.
I've done that like once or twice, but I've never done it like consistently.
Every day, she goes out to her car, takes a nap on her lunch break, and then comes in late, or asks her coworker to wake her up. Although that coworker that wakes her up doesn't work there anymore. So I don't know who's going to be her alarm now. Oh yeah, my colleague would set the alarm on her phone too, and she wouldn't hear it, and she'd still sleep. Wandering spirit, feel that when you don't sleep because you're just working on a project or something for school, and you just gotta go until it's done. Oof.
Yep.
Oof. But yeah, I will never nap on my lunch. No.
It's worth it some days.
I don't wake up. I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself at all. I mean, like, I'm going to take a nap on lunch and wake up at 3 o'clock, and my boss is going to be like, what the hell? Where were you? I tried to call you.
Something came up. Ramona fell down a well.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that would be great though. You wake up to go to class and then you get there and it's closed. So I mean, that's a win at least.
Yeah, right?
Like, it's like when you wake up and you roll over and you're like, my alarm's going to go off in 5 minutes, and you find out you still have like 2 more hours to sleep.
Yeah. That's a big win. I love that. I'll get up to pee in the middle of the night and come back to late and think like, oh my God, it's like 4 a.m. I'm going to have to get up in an hour. And then I'll look at the clock and it'll be like 2:30 and I'll be like, thank God. Oh, a hammock nap sounds nice. Hammock nap sounds nice. That sounds good.
Yeah. I'm scared to fall asleep outside though. Because
why?
Because I've done it before and I got really sunburned.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that happened to my mom. I told you that.
There's like this bench outside one of my old houses, and I just like was laying there. I was reading a book and I just got tired. I dozed off. It was in the shade, but I slept long enough that the shade moved. And I woke up and the shade like it was like my whole face and my right side was all burnt, and then my left arm was still in the shade, and it was just white. So I was like half red with a white arm.
Oh, that's funny. I've fallen asleep in the grass before.
Yeah.
Like outside, but never long enough to get wicked sunburn. I don't mind falling asleep in the grass. It's kind of nice.
Oh, hammocks are wicked comfortable.
Yeah, they're nice. They're super comfy. I don't think you'd fall out.
No.
Because the way that it works, like I feel like your body's gravity is keeping you.
Yeah.
You'd have to be like having a nightmare, like freaking out to get tossed out of the hammock.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, your body's just gonna.
For me, half the issue is getting out of the hammock once you're in there.
Oh yeah, getting out of it. Yeah.
There's no graceful way to get out of a hammock.
No, there isn't. Yep, my mom fell asleep on a beach too. Finger marks from the sunburn. That's kind of funny. My mom fell asleep on a beach in Mexico. Woke up with sun poisoning. She had sunburn so bad. She had giant, huge blisters all over her back from falling asleep on the beach. Oh. She was like sick for 3 days. She was puking and stuff. Yeah, she like, yeah, really, really bad. Falling asleep outside situation.
You take a chance when you fall asleep outside.
You do take a chance. I think she had been partying with friends, so.
Oh, okay, I see.
So there was also that. It wasn't a sober decision.
But I mean, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, my mom said it was like the worst
days. That's when you learn to nap. Especially when you're in college and you're up doing it till 4 a.m, and then you got class at 6.
You got a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom did not have a good time. She said it was one of the worst things ever. Was the big blisters all over and everything, and being like sick on top of it, and dehydrated, everything. You know what I mean? Just.
Yeah, it sounds pretty bad. Also, Lucas, your coworkers were the best.
Yeah, your coworkers sound nice.
You don't know if I've ever had coworkers that I would trust to wake me up like softly.
Like just.
Like I have coworkers that would have woken me up, but it wouldn't have been graceful.
No, they would have been.
Like, how can we prank him awake?
Yeah, pretty much. It's exactly
either that, or if they woke me up gently and softly, I would go straight to the bathroom and look in the mirror, like, what'd you draw on my face?
My coworkers would try to do it in a way that they could then tell on me and try to get me in trouble. That is what would happen with me.
Sounds like a great time.
Mm-hmm. That is how it would work with me.
On that note, though, it is about time to end the stream.
It is about that time.
So maybe it's time for everyone to go take a New Year's nap. I'm sure a lot of people have been out drinking last night.
Maybe they're a little dehydrated.
So yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us, though. This has been fun.
This has been a great time. Maybe next stream we will get to that halfway point in the story. Yes. We're so close.
Next stream we will be with Noelle again. So we'll be reading
some Snow Leopard, maybe.
Snow Leopard.
Yes.
Discussing that and reading some more of All the Young Dudes.
We will keep you all posted and let you know what's happening.
Starting out 2022 strong.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody.